Hi there, it's Dave from Telescribe and Nothing Game. Joining me, of course, today is Andy from Nomadic Rain and Kirk out from Screen Blast Repeat, and you're watching the ADK Rock and Metal channel. Okay, today we are looking back at our last event at the 6-6 bar, which is actually our last event as ADK presents at the 6-6 bar for this year, which was quite prophetic in the way that I put the poster called Final Doom. It said at the top of the poster, so it was kind of Final Doom for us. So, yes, it was our final promotion event out of the 6-6 bar, with the 6-6 bar team taking over the final three events that we have on the 30th of October, 27th of November, and the 18th of December. So the shows are still going to continue, but just with the venue taken over for reasons to make it better as far as getting out to more people. We want the venue to be a success, we want the bands to play to bigger crowds, and we just want it to be more successful. So it was... we couldn't get our advertising in front of as many people as we'd like, so it just made a lot more sense for the venues to take over, and so they are. So this was our last event. We had four bands on the bill. Headliners were Erronaut, with main support coming from Orme, and then we also had Doom, and of course we had our openers, Nomadic Rain. Now we're going to just talk about what we thought of each band. Now, Andy, you're going to go last for this one, as this is your band, but it'll be interesting to get your experience from this particular show, considering you also did one of our first shows of ADK Presents. I think you were on the first show and the first band to play it when we did ADK Presents in July last year, I think it was. So, Kirk, thoughts, Nomadic Rain?
I think this is the seventh time, possibly, that I've seen Nomadic Rain perform live. Obviously, I remember when you used to have Max, your female vocalist, in the band, and I reviewed your album from 2021 when your bass player was the vocalist then, wasn't he? So big changes in the band. Damien is now settled in the band as the vocalist. It didn't produce many surprises for me, this set, and that's not a bad thing. It's because I'm going to a gig and it's called Final Doom, and we have a doom metal band opening as the first band on the bill. So I was in the mood for it, and it's the type of music that I like because I can ponder, I can hold my pint and just watch it, and occasionally sway my shoulders when the palm muted riffs come in. I think what you need with this music, because you've already got something that's atmospheric, maybe have a look at what you can do with a light show or with a backdrop. I think that would be difficult at the 6-6 bar because you're not headlining, but to take it to the next level as a spectacle, that might be something to look into, because you've already got the tones of the music, and the video you did for the lead single really suited it as well, where you had some mishmash of 20th century atrocities and strange abstract avant-garde, black and white recordings all together. That went really well. On a musical level, I thought the bass was really good in the mix. Sam, I thought, the lead guitar player, also, he had a couple of problems with the first song, but dealt with that really well. And Andy, I could hear your guitar tone carrying the first song when he dropped out, and I can tell you it was nice and crispy. So you've really got your sound nailed down there as well. Thought the vocals were strong when he was engaged, but I've got to say, I thought it was such an anticlimactic end to the show for someone to be prompted to say, oh, we have some merch. I didn't even know that was the last song. So just need to work on that confidence and, end it with some drama. I'm not saying go for a cliche of have a backing track with thunder and lightning, but it just seemed like I was expecting another song, and then the band walked off stage. So I think in terms of stagecraft, definitely need to do more in terms of trying to increase your presence and charisma. But musically, I thought it was another strong performance from the band.
See, I'm not going to be as critical as that. I'm actually going to say I thought it was a good show. Working on presence and charisma, it's a Doom band. You're not expecting presence and charisma from Doom, in all honesty. It's, to me, I didn't go to that gig to watch the bands perform. I listened to Doom. To me, the riffs are quite repetitive across Doom songs. They're slow, they're sludgy, they're repetitive. They're atmospheric. You said that word, Kirk, and completely that. And I found myself just vibing to music all night. Just everything that was going on, it was just repeating. It was just going off, and your mind just wanders and stuff. So I'm not really watching the stage that much for stagecraft overall. I'm also looking at it from the last time I actually caught Nomadic Rain, which would have been back in July last year. I don't think I've actually seen the guys live since then. I've seen clips and stuff, but not actually gone and watched them play live. And it was a marked step up in overall performance. As far as vocal delivery was very good. Andy was asking after the show about could you even hear the vocals. Now, once I listened back to the video cameras, behind that speaker on stage, there were no vocals hardly at all coming through those monitors, as far as I could tell, because the cameras picked up very little as far as vocals. But out front, you had them. So the speakers at the front were giving us vocals, but on stage, which is what the cameras would have picked up, because they were actually behind the big PA, so they would have only picked up what you guys were hearing. The vocals were very, very quiet. So yeah, I'm surprised you even actually heard any of the vocals for yourselves on the stage. But band sounded great, sounded really tight. Tracks I hadn't heard before from since last year, so there were some things in there. I think last time you played, you did a cover and stuff, so it was a couple of songs and a cover, whereas this time felt like, I'm sure you did a cover last year. You did a cover of something.
No, we haven't.
Napalm Death or something, you told me.
No, that's Extreme Death Art did Napalm Death. I'd like to do a cover, but we haven't chosen one or decided that's what we're going to do. But no, we've never done a cover.
Okay, my apologies then. I thought it was you that did one. It's not that I knew your songs either anyway, so I couldn't tell you the songs off by heart. But there was definitely there were some elements of rock and stuff that were coming in, which were more than just standardized Doom, which I liked. And I think vocals were a lot stronger, getting more confident. Yeah, he's still got the bit when he's not singing. What's he doing? He sort of becomes this lost little boy on stage, not sure what his place is. So where does his stagecraft come? And that's the biggest thing for every vocalist I've ever seen is when they haven't got guitar in their hand, they've got these periods of time. What are they doing? Kim from Telescribe with us is something I go on about with her all the time after every show. We're like, which if anyone that saw us at Powerlines will have noticed the step between the last show to this show is where she comes backwards now to the drum kit to get her water rather than stay at the front and get her water. So I'm like, it's really awkward when you just stop at the front of the stage and drink your water while everyone's playing, and like you're just killing the vibe. And you see the video and you just see your singers he's like singing. Right, what do I do now? You're like, okay, go. What are you going to do? How are you going to engage? What's going on? But for me, best performance I've seen from you guys anyway. What's your overall impression of the night, Andy?
Yeah, thank you both for those comments. We thought it went well. The sound on stage was good, particularly my own, but you're absolutely right. There's nothing coming from the monitors. It's a very, very quick line check, sound check. And we all, as often are the case when we're opening and sound checking last, it all just seems a little bit rushed. But yeah, we thought the performance went really well, especially the first opening songs. What's it called? I can't even bloody think. But the opening track is one you wouldn't have heard before, Dave, because that's new from the July show. And our single Silent Revolt went really well and came across really well, particularly on your camera footage. We had the mix from the desk as well, but your audio was much better, so we're very pleased with that, and the visuals were great as well. We're hoping to try and do something with those and sort of get some promotional material out of that lot. Sam had a bit of a loose pickup, I think, on the second song, because I thought he was playing something completely different, because we had to drop one to fit it into a 30-minute set from last time we played at Ballstock. So I wondered if he was playing the wrong song, because I could see him doing something different and struggling a little bit. But yeah, really, really, really pleased with the performance. You're both right regarding the sort of between song and sort of when Damien isn't vocalizing, he does need to sort of work on that, I think. But what I was really impressed with, the brand new song that was only been played once before, Shattered Idols, hearing his vocals and lyrics over that track was great. It's almost like a first for me, because it doesn't come across very well in the practice rooms. So you can, and playing back your footage and the audio, you can think, oh yeah, you know, he's completed the song because we've written it, and his vocals just sort of finish it off. And Kirk, I'll take on board what you said about, you know, finishing the show. It does need something. You're absolutely right. Something we haven't really thought about or discussed, but even if an introduction saying this is our last track, thank you very much, at least the audience would know. But we could perhaps try and come up with some way of finishing that last track and, you know, sort of drawing a line under the set. But thank you both for your comments. We really enjoyed the performance and thought it was one of our best ones as well.
Okay, well, let's check out some Nomadic Rain live from the 6-6 bar in Cambridge. Okay, so the next band on the night was a band that none of us had seen live before, and that is the band O Doom. So I'm going to throw over to you, Andy, for your impression on the band.
Yeah, they were added to the bill after you had to sort of rearrange things a little bit when Eldersea unfortunately couldn't headline. Not a band I'd even heard of before, let alone seen before. And I'm going to go back to the old adage about sort of band names. I thought it's not the best band name, but I wanted to check them out, and I looked at the socials, and it was sort of the word shoegaze was mentioned, and sort of post metal. I thought, well, I'm not quite sure what this is going to be, but I listened to their EP, and I was really, really impressed. The atmospherics and the songwriting and the content and the overall sound of the band, I was really, really impressed with. And I think I enjoyed their performance, which I think they played 3 of those tracks and their brand new single as their set. I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. The sound was great. The guy, the vocalist and guitarist, I thought he was fantastic as well. He's not playing power chords. He's not even playing single notes. Kirk, I'm sure you'll elaborate on this because you've got more music knowledge, but he's playing chords and hand shapes I've never seen before. He puts his pick away and he's finger picking, whatever that technique's called. And I just thought the overall sound was fantastic. The way the instruments all melded together in the songs. At one point, all 4 were doing vocals. I just think they're a really, really exceptional band. And on top of everything else, they've got a great line of merch. We've got a beer mat and stickers and this really attractive postcard type thing to promote the new single. And their social media output is really, really good. They've used clips from last Thursday. They've done sort of little interviews, just telling everybody about the band and what they can expect. And I think they'll move on to really big things, and I'd love to see them again sometime and even play together as well. I really, really enjoyed O Doom. Real surprise, but yeah, fantastic band.
Kirk?
Yeah, I echo most of what Andy said there. Let's start with the name. I didn't know anything about them. Turned up, I thought, is this just going to be pentatonic doom rock? And it was the complete opposite, wasn't it? It's like when you take that band Sludge, who are from Lancashire, and you just think, oh, is this just going to be a sludge metal album? They play symphonic black and death metal, and that 2019 album, which they did, won so many awards. Even Metallica in the 90s weren't playing metal, but obviously they couldn't change the name. And then you've got that band Eagles of Death Metal, which I think it's clear are not going to be a death metal band, that Josh Homme side project. So this really took me by surprise. Andy, you're right, not a power chord in sight. So they've got the name Doom in the title of the band name, and he was playing some really strange, like 7th and 9th chords in the mid range of his guitar. When I spoke to them after, I said, "What's so unique about this?" It's like they were playing post rock with a Lana Del Rey melancholia over the top of it, and they saw that as a compliment, as it was intended. And then when we were discussing it further, I said to the new guitarist who's just joined, I said, "What do you think of the new album by The Cure, Songs from a Lost World?" And straight away he said, "Yeah, it's a strong piece of work," because they're approaching sound design by use of guitars like Robert Smith of The Cure, but they're using those violent dynamics of the Pixies. So there is also like a post-hardcore element. So again, you might even hear the term art rock. I think what I like about this band, you could give them like 9 different genre titles. But if anyone's not listened to them, what I would say is it's the type of music you can close your eyes and be absorbed in. It's very emotional music as well. And as you said there, Andy, there's moments where they start off with really staccato heavy, like a post-hardcore band, and the noise is really at deafening levels. And then it'll come right down, and he's finger picking and crooning in like a falsetto voice. And then you don't know when it's going to kick in again, when it turns violent again. And the fact that they've got a sense of humor and is there a record called "All Our Songs Are Slow and Miserable"? Or is that
one of the tracks on
One of the songs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, what does that tell you about this band? So they've got a great sense of humor, very serious in terms of the emotional impact of the music, and definitely fit the bill. Even if they weren't called "Oh Doom," you would still think, yeah, they've got a lot of guitar noise in there. What they're trying to do is find a fragile sense of melody in that, which they're not the first band to do that, but you're really setting yourself a challenge. I thought they were successful in doing it. So definitely we'll listen to them, their next album and that EP that you mentioned, Andy. And if they were playing tomorrow, in Hertfordshire, and I was in the area, yeah, I'd be there and I'd go and shake their hands again after the set. That was a really imaginative performance and absolutely not what I was expecting. What about you, Dave?
As you've already mentioned most of the stuff, I'm just going to reiterate a couple of key points then from me. Melancholia was a great way of putting it, because we discussed briefly, Kirk, after their show about are they Doom, and I was like, they're not traditional Doom, but they are sad. In this sad music, it's melancholia. It's not joyful, upbeat music. But it's not traditional kind of Doom, heavy riff, sludgy group. It's just a different approach to telling a very sad tale in the way they put it across. So I think we could all really appreciate what they were doing. It was the fact that they were doing so many different things, the multi-layered vocals, the keyboard pits, the drummer's literally playing, and then he gets to another section and he's playing the piano. And then he stops playing the piano and just jumps back onto the drum. I'm like, bloody hell, because I was watching the video back of it. You could just see him just playing the piano sections for the next song and then just starts playing the drum sections. And I'm like, this is a lot of work's been put into it. But what I will say, I mentioned a band called A Stranger from the local scene as well, that have, although they don't sound anything like O'Doom, they again approach music in a very similar way of they're not trying to conform to the normalities of what you expect. They like to approach things from different levels. This is the music I wouldn't listen to be happy or for a vibe. There's a lot of music you listen to because you want to feel that vibe. You just want to rock out. You want to do that. I would never listen to O'Doom for that reason. But I would listen to them for the intellectual writing. So if I wanted to look at songwriting and understand songcraft, I would listen to O'Doom and enjoy listening to it for that reason. If I wanted to listen to something that next to, I know, Metallica's Ride the Light, if I'm rocking out to some Pantera or stuff, I'm not going to have O'Doom come up on a shuffle next to it, because it's going to kill the vibe completely. But let's see what you think at home. This is O'Doom from the 6-6 bar.
This Is Not Home. I'm about to play it for you now. If you'd like to stream it tomorrow, we can find it on Bandcamp. You can pay what you want for it. The flyers at the back, it's got a little QR code on there.
Okay, our third band of the evening was a marked change from what just happened in Odum. This is Orme. Kirk, give us some thoughts on this.
Well, I should preface it. In 2023, the debut album, self-titled, was an hour and 40 minutes of drone metal, which is a genre that's still in its embryonic stages. It's been around. The band Sun are probably the best example of it, and it is closely linked to doom metal, but it's more about atmospherics. However, Orme have also released an EP since then, which went in a more conventional death doom sludge metal direction. And considering that they were the main support, they were never going to be able to play anything from their debut album because they didn't have a 1 hour and 40 minute slot. So they were treated as the songs from No Serpents, No Saviors, the EP, which we reviewed on this channel last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed as well. I'm surprised that Tom Clements actually chose quite a lot of instrumental songs for the set list. The first one, he was really on it, with that grisly death doom voice. Really underrated guitarist, Tom, as well. When you're watching it, he's playing some really tasty shapes. Got a good technique on the pinch harmonics as well, because guitar isn't Tom's first instrument. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and he studied music. I don't know which prestigious college in London, but he's always got an eye on the avant-garde. So when do more of an orthodox set and they play music like this, I'm going to judge them against other bands, that are really strong in this area, and they pull through. I thought that with Jimmy on bass as well, looked very comfortable. Obviously, he was in Everest Queen, and so was Tom. So they've got good pedigree. The drummer is really strong as well. I like watching him play because often he's got to be patient. He's the one who's adding to the tension and the atmosphere when they're playing the drum metal sets. Here, he was able to be, playing at full velocity and throwing in his drum fills, and I could see that he enjoyed it as well. So this is the type of music, like post-metal, you can just stand in the middle, put your hood up, have a pint, it doesn't matter who's around you, and just let it absorb you. So yeah, good set from these. I always make a point of trying to watch because I do see their music, especially drone metal. I know you need a lot of patience for that, but that is definitely an avant-garde subgenre that's still in development, and there's still a lot of potential with it. And maybe it's Orme who can take it to that next level. But again, they've shown here that they can also play, death doom metal as well to a high standard.
Andy?
Yeah, I've known Tom and Jimmy for a number of years, and I think Orme as a project has been going for quite a while as well, because I have got up there 2 sort of CDRs that they recorded and gave to me. I must admit, I haven't listened. It's almost like live recordings, I think, and demos. I haven't really listened to them, if I'm entirely honest. So I wasn't really sure what to expect from their set. I purchased the aforementioned double album that Kirk said about, but I'm not listening to that either. But I really enjoyed this death doom performance that they did at the 6 Bar. Kirk, you said you reviewed the album. I was under the impression it was just one 20-odd minute piece of work, but you seem to think it might be sort of various songs.
So yeah, No Serpents, No Saviors.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly flowed as one piece of work.
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Tom Clements, for people who follow the local Hertfordshire metal scene, is also vocalist in I don't know how would you just describe Praetorian, but he's the
Sludge grind.
Yeah, he's a shirtless frontman of Praetorian, and I actually much prefer the vocal delivery he did at the 6 Bar for Orme. It's very guttural, it's very low, very menacing, and he's accompanying that with some fantastic guitar playing as well. Lot of single note riffs, but as you said, Kurt, there's some pinch harmonics and there's some sort of lead melody type parts as well. And Jimmy Long's sort of bass is really propping that up. You don't really need a second guitarist, for this type of music, and it just flowed really, really well. I don't know the guy on drums, but I think you mentioned, Dave, about he didn't have much to pack away because he's just got one crash cymbal, which I think it was noticeable You know, I watch live bands all the time, and the drummers, you know, I occasionally watch as well. But this guy, it's just on his right hand, and he's hitting this splashy crash cymbal, and it really adds to, you know, I guess the drone sound of Orme, and also this performance as well. So I was pleasantly surprised at their performance, because I wasn't sure what to expect, but I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Tom's sent me a link, which I think is probably now on YouTube anyway, of what he put together for their performance from Dave's footage. So I'm looking forward to watching that at some point. And you did mention, Kirk, they finished off the set with I think an Electric Wizard song, which is a band I'm not familiar with, but I think that went down rather well as well. It's very, very, very much a band that both Tom and Jimmy like very much. And just finally, talking about pleasantly be surprised, the turnout was I thought was absolutely fantastic. Judging by the Facebook event page and the fact that we personally as a band didn't sell any tickets for our direct link, I was thought, and being Doom and a vast range of different Doom metal for that matter, I was expecting it to be one man is his dog and the other band. So a big thank you to everybody who turned up. And, you know, we as a band really appreciate your support, and from the channel as well, because it was a decent turnout, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it was. It picked up, and we had a few sales on the door. We had a few sales via the website of the actual venue, so rather than through our link. So it kind of made a lot more sense, and hence why we've moved it back to the venue to push the last ones. If they're getting the ticket sales anyway, it just makes more sense for them to, if they were actually promoting the shows, we might actually get a little bit more through them, and it will be beneficial to them as well. Yeah, so Orme, I was not expecting to like them. Just categorically, it's drone sludge is just not a genre of music. It's probably my least favourite of the rock metal genres. Math rock, alternative art rock, I prefer to the idea of drone stuff. It's just long-winded 25-minute, half-hour songs. Doom, I'm like, oh god, give me a break. However, I did enjoy the set. As you said, Tom was laying some great lead parts down at points. I was like really surprised. I was not expecting the sort of the lead parts that he was doing to come out. I didn't watch the show as far as like stand there and watch them. I was listening to them, and I actually enjoyed that. Really, it was great. It was great background music. It's the sort of music I would have on while I'm doing work and stuff, because it keeps going. It's repetitive sections. You have a long section of repetition, and then you move into another section of repetition, then you move to another. There's not like 8 bars or something and then switch. 8 bars or something, switch, and within 3 minutes your song's over. This is something you can just let atmospherically just kind of take over and just vibe with. So it's very much a vibe performance. The only thing it's a bit of a nightmare for me for is from an editing point of view, because I always cut and make like a nice 5-minute, 3-minute song for each band for this video. Trying to find a section of their performance I could go, well, that's good, because I'm not putting I'm not cutting together a 25-minute performance to put in here. So I think I've got about 6.5 minutes that make sense roughly for Orme's performance today that I'm going to cut in. But no, I'm not putting the whole song on there, and I didn't want to do the cover, so I wanted to take a section of their original. So let's see what you think at home. This is Orme from the 66 bar. Okay, and our final band of the night was Erronaut, who are our newly announced headliners. So let's go through it. Kirk, your thoughts on Erronaut's performance?
Yeah, I've seen them. I think this is the fourth time, and this was definitely the best performance, and it made me realize how strong the vocalist is in this band. So I know they put out an album last year in August called "The Space in Between," and that was a long form piece of art. I think there were 11 tracks, and it must have been getting on for an hour. And this is music is supposed to have a psychedelic impact. It's quite hazy. You got some really heavy stoner metal riffs, but yeah, the vocals are very strong. You can hear the influence of the grunge greats, and that's always a compliment because those singers from those bands are arguably the finest in the history of heavy rock. So yeah, good set. Unfortunately, I was only able to watch 80% of it, but really enjoyed just being on that floor with a beer in my hand, absorbing it. I will be honest though as well, when they were playing, because I've started doing Japanese lessons, I was just like shouting out some phrases that I've learned in my recent
Why?
Japanese lesson because it was so loud. The music's like, oh, I can practice here while I'm watching. So when they're playing, I'm just shouting out like, "Dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu" and things like that. It's just like I'm going to practice. I'm doing. That's the thing with this music. You can just multitask, and I think it's deliberate. It's meant to aid you in other ways. So yeah, it's good. I don't hear much of the darker doom element in their music. It's more progressive and stoner metal angle that they're coming from. Some really tasty bass grooves in there as well. Good live performance. I think they're a very reliable band as well. Great to see them stepping in and headline as they deserve to, especially having an LP that came out last year. So we should be thanking them for coming in, playing this set, entertaining us, and allowing me to multitask while they were playing exceptionally loud music and allowed me to practice some of the Japanese vocabulary that I've been learning.
Andy?
Well, you'd be pleased to know I actually focused on the set for 40 minutes on. I didn't veer off into
Japanese.
other languages or random thoughts. But yeah, Aeronaut. They've kind of what word we're looking for. Basically, those four guys have been together for a long time because they were Black Atlas, and this music is not a million miles away from Black Atlas. I don't know why the change, because Black Atlas were brilliant. Sort of sludgy stoner doom, very emotional vocals, very emotional topic matter and lyrics and everything. But they seem to have sort of, as the name suggests, and also the album that Kirk mentioned, there seems to be more sort of cosmic, psychedelic feel to perhaps the lyrics. But Mikey Ward is a top guy, really good performer. As I said a moment ago, such emotion and passion and in the vocals and the lyrics, a lot of personal feelings in there as well. And what I do like about this band, and it goes for Orme and O'Doom, because their vocalist is a guitarist as well, they can have these extended musical passages, which is what I'd like to incorporate into Nomadic Roan a bit more. And the band's still engaged and everybody's involved and delivering the music. But I, unfortunately, criminally have not really listened to the Space Within. A couple of tracks early on in the set were familiar because I've seen them several times, sort of at the Red Line in Stevenage, most recently and everything. But it's an album I do need to sort of really get my teeth into because they are a really good band. As I say, they've been together as a band for a long time, and you could see that on stage. The performance and the delivery of the songs was excellent, and really great way of finishing off a great night. So thanks to Mikey and the rest of the boys in Aeronaut.
Yeah, all I'll do say then is, I completely pretty much agree with what you guys have said. My favourite thing about the band was how comfortable they were on that stage and the interplay between the guitars and bass. Whereas in a lot of bands you're the rhythm guitarist, you're bass and you just hold the back line and you're the lead guitar parts. There was lots of play of who took the lead sections, and people were quite comfortable. I'll do my little solo part, and then I go to a chord section while the other one takes over and does a nice little bit of interplay. And then the bass takes a bit of a lead, and you had some great vocal deliveries. It wasn't all slow growling. It's he's got a great voice. He knows how to use it. As you said, yeah, Stoner Doom is a great way of kind of putting it across with a little bit of a progressive edge to it. So yeah, really enjoyed their set. And this is Erronaut at the 6-6 bar. Take care.